an island. I wanna feel the connection.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Angel Talk. The angels put this on my heart a long time ago, before I even knew what a podcast was, believe it or not. I'm a reader and a lover of books themselves. And so it was very odd to me, and it felt very foreign to listen to information that I would normally read in a book. And so that was a little bit of a transition for me. But I was given the message from the angels that I needed to really be open to receiving information in this way, and to enjoying something new. And anybody that knows me very well knows that that is historically been a challenge for me, new things. And I have a tendency to get kind of set in my ways, and I like what I like, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm getting better at that. I really am. That's an area that I've had to put a lot of focus into growth. But at any rate, they said to me that it was very important that I share these messages in this way. And of course, fast forward to where we are now, and I really understand why. That this, it's been incredible the way that we've been able to share information with each other and get information that we wouldn't have been able to get otherwise, were it not for the internet and the ability to have a podcast and have a YouTube channel or have a website, and how commonplace that has become and how readily available that information is. So I'm really excited. I'm really grateful to be a part of that. They shared with me that it was really important that I share how I experience the angels in my daily life. And, the angels will present themselves to you in the way that you need to experience them. So please don't take this as me saying that this is the only way or this is the best way to experience them. It's just, I've experienced angelic communication since my earliest memories. And so it's never felt uncomfortable for me. It's never felt weird to me. It's never felt, it's just kind of been right along part of every bit of my daily life. It's just always been there. And so I don't they're just, I don't know how to explain it. They're just there. They've just always been there. And so I don't have to, do these special chants or say a special thing or, go to a special place or wear a special outfit or anything like that. And so I think that's why it's so important. I think that was the intent behind the message from the archangels, was that people need to be able to see what it's like for somebody who's just, a regular person. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I have many of the same stresses that you have. I have many of the same hurts that you have. I have many of the same, life experiences that many of you have. And I also communicate with angels. So walking with angels doesn't remove me from the human experience. It just gives me the love and the encouragement and the guidance and the healing that I need in those experiences. So that's what I'm here to share with you all, is to share the messages, how I receive them, to share my life and my heart and what's on my heart to tell you. And I hope that it helps your experience also. And I know that if you open yourself to it, the angels will take it from there, and you will experience it in just a way, and in all the profound ways that they can work their energy and work their magic. They will do that for you in the way that you need. Okay. So I didn't have a clue at that time when they first gave me the message to do this. I was not, and I'm still not really all that much, but I was certainly not at that time very technologically inclined at all. I was at home raising babies. My kids were very small when kind of the age of the internet came about, and the age of when technology grew rapidly. And I was just so in love with these babies, and so busy that I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. And I wasn't missing out on anything. It just gave me a little bit of a learning curve to be able to get from or to catch up, I should say. So I didn't know how, didn't have a clue as to how I was going to get from there to here. But I trusted that the angels knew what they were doing. They are archangels and they have pretty good record, I figured. So now here we are. And at some point when it feels right, we'll be able to connect face to face. And I'll do these videos where you'll be able to see me rather than just hear me with audio recording, because I do think it's important to be able to look into someone's eyes and to see their light signature, and to connect in that way. And that was the original vision that the angels gave me. But with everything that's going on right now, I didn't really feel appropriate or right to launch this in that way. And it also felt like that all of the focus really needed to be on the messages without, any distractions or anything like that. But we will connect with that way soon. So again, I thank you for being here. Really, it means a lot to me that you're allowing me to share these messages with you. This really is a bigger deal for me than you might imagine. And I'm extremely grateful for each of you who are here to share it with me. And as I learned a long time ago, the archangels are not at all shy. So we are going to jump right in and talk about rethinking retrograde. Okay. So if we're going to talk about rethinking retrograde, then we need to know what retrograde means, right? And I realized a few years ago that even though I knew what kinds of energies were likely to be present when planets are retrograde and what themes and emotions and cycles that were likely to be brought up during retrograde, I had no idea, scientifically speaking, what it meant for a planet to retrograde. And so I thought that was something that it might be a good idea to find out. and this is what I learned. So as Earth is moving along in its orbit around the sun, it will reach a point in that orbit where it will pass by other planets in our solar system that have a longer, slower orbit around the sun than Earth does. And that's what we're experiencing right now. We have a lot of planets in retrograde right now. So that's what we're experiencing. And this gives the optical illusion from our vantage point here on Earth that those slower moving planets are spinning backward and going in reverse. And I'll give you an example of something that you might be able to relate to a little better. It's like when you're going down the highway and you get in the passing lane, and you go in the passing lane to pass by other cars that are moving slower than you. And if you look over as you're passing by these other cars, for a moment, from your perspective, it will look like the car that you're passing that is slower moving is rolling backward and going in reverse. And I want you to hang on to that word perspective, because that's going to be an important word here as we go along here in just a minute. So I'm going to just take that and put it in your pocket, and we'll get it back out in just a bit. So now we're also in eclipse season, while we have all these planets in retrograde. And we also have the solstice on the same day as this next eclipse, which is happening on, I believe, the 20th and 21st, depending of this month, June, depending on where in the world you are. So that is creating a feeling for us collectively of enormous intensity. Now, I will say, let me stop right here, and I will just say, I'm not an astrologer. That is not my gift or my lane. But I think it's very important to have at least a basic understanding of what's going on with the astrology, because those energies and those things have a direct effect on what's happening in our earthly experience. And so if we can, kind of educate ourselves a little bit and have just a basic even understanding of what's going on, then it can help us to navigate their experience. And it also helps us to be a lot more objective and not so sucked into the experience itself, if that makes sense. And from that place, then we can have a lot more clarity on why we're experiencing what we're experiencing or feeling what we're feeling. And it can also really help us to understand others better and have compassion and understanding for their experiences as well, and how they might be, how those experiences might be causing certain emotions or responses to manifest from them. Okay. Now, in the description box, I've put links to the channels of 3 very gifted astrologers, and they're the 3 that I follow and have learned a tremendous amount from. And each of them has a very unique approach to astrology. So I encourage you to watch their videos, and I've put that in the description box below. One is Pam Gregory, and if you go to her website, you can I believe you can still get a free birth chart. So that's really neat. You just have to put in your name and your place of birth and your time of birth if you know it, and it will generate a free birth chart. And so that's really helpful. And the second is Tanya Gabrielle, and she actually combines the astrology with numerology, which I'd never seen done before, and I don't know of anybody else that's doing that. So that is really neat. And then the third is she's very interesting. The way she presents the astrology. Her name is Kathy Beale, and she was actually the first one that I started listening to when I wanted to learn a little bit more and wanted to, understand the different things that were going on. And she's really very good at helping you understand how this is going to play out in your personal life and how it's going to affect you personally, like in a very real way. So I've got that in the description box below. So please, if you feel led to, please check those out. I think it's very helpful. So with all of the things that we have happening with the astrology, it's really creating this incredible feeling of intensity on Earth right now. And it can actually feel very much like we're being squeezed. And that squeeze has got the intensity to it, that kind of brings to mind the camel through the eye of the needle. And that's because we're being moved from one reality to another. The old way is falling. The new way is the new way is coming to be. And so it's that squeeze going from one to another that we're feeling. Okay. And this can feel very intense. And because this eclipse is in Cancer, which is a very feeling energy anyway, our emotions can run very high. And if we either don't have an awareness of what the bigger picture is, or we don't actively choose to remain in a place of higher consciousness, then we can become very, very reactive very quickly and explosive and easily triggered. Okay, which is a lot of what we're seeing play out in the world right now. Okay, so, and it's also important to understand that I just want to say that it's very important to understand that although we are affected by retrogrades and by eclipses and by things like that, it's important that we don't get into a habit of allowing ourselves to believe that we are victims of anything. Okay? Nothing is out to get us. Nothing is chasing us down. Nothing is oppressing us with its energy or making us choose anything. Nothing is messing with us. And we are not the butt of some kind of cosmic joke. I promise you. Even though sometimes it can feel that way, that is not what's happening. These planets are just doing their thing in the great cosmic dance, and we happen to be on the dance floor with them. Okay? So we can get into a flow and get into a groove and really have a beautiful dance and have a lot of fun. Or we can be resistant and stiff about it, and we're going to trip all over ourselves and all over the place and probably knock a few things down while we're doing it. Okay. So we're not victims of anything from what these planets and energies are doing. Okay. We have a choice. We always have a choice. So it is vitally important to understand that these events simply highlight certain themes, bring our focus to them, and then we have a choice how we're going to respond to it and how we're going to experience it. Because where we choose to vibrate and where we choose to have our consciousness is going to dictate the kind of experience that we're going to have and what we're going to manifest. If you remain in a vibration of love and compassion and of really evaluating where you can be more loving and compassionate, or if you remain in a vibration of feeling very abundant, um, uh, actively choosing those, that place of consciousness, then you've got some really great and fast moving energy available to you to quickly manifest more loving and compassionate and abundant experiences for yourself. Now, if you're in a vibration that is fearful and reactive and resistant to change, then you're going to manifest experiences that reflect that. So we have a choice, and it's really important that we, are aware of what's going on, and that we extend compassion to others for what's going on, and that we focus solely on, because we can't control others, right? We can control ourselves. We make our own choices. And so we can stay in that place of higher consciousness, and it holds space for those that either don't know or can't get to that right now. If we can do that and we can anchor that on the planet, then it's going to bring about the change that we want a lot more quickly, a lot more effectively, and with a lot less collateral damage than if we're in a reactive, uh, angry, fearful place. Okay. And we're going to get to more of that a little bit later. So we were talking about how each of the planets has certain energies or attributes associated with it, right? And so as Earth passes by each of these planets, and those planets retrograde, it presents us with certain themes, or what I like to call energetic opportunities. When my kids were little, and they would, do something that was against the rules to do, or that I didn't particularly want them to do, I would say, "Okay, we have a teaching opportunity here." And I was a very different kind of mother, but that's neither here nor there. And I know that word opportunity, I know that that's an astrology word that has a very specific meaning, and I'm not an astrologer, and that's not what I mean when I say that. I hope I haven't confused you by that. What I mean when I say that is that we're presented with a choice that pertains to a particular theme. And how that manifests or presents itself to each of us individually is going to look a little different. It's going to be unique to us. But it's stemming from the same place collectively. So while it may appear like we have very opposing viewpoints, very opposing things going on, in our reality, that we're coming from very opposing places, if we can understand that it's all stemming from the same place, then we can really have a lot more compassion for each other, and we can understand each other better, and we can understand that these things have the same seed, and that they've just sprouted and are manifesting in our lives, each a little bit unique. Does that make sense to you? I hope I've said that in a way that it makes sense. I'll give you a good example. My mother struggles with self-esteem. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman. She really struggles with body image and self-esteem. And so how that manifests for her is that she pays just an incredible amount of attention to, she's very particular about like her clothes. Nothing can be even the slightest bit tight or have certain materials like that have spandex or stretch, or nothing is revealing. She doesn't wear bright colors, like, like really loud colors, like I would particularly wear, because she doesn't want that attention on herself, because she doesn't feel good about herself. And so that attention only further highlights that she doesn't feel good about herself. And so she doesn't want that. And all through my growing up in high school years, she and I really butted heads, and it took me a long time to understand and heal from this, because I had also had very low self-esteem. Okay. But how that manifested for me at that time was everything was very tight, and everything was, a little bit more revealing, because that attention that I would get from that, made me feel better about the fact that I didn't have good self-esteem. I was dependent at that time on others to tell me, whether or not, I was beautiful, or whether or not I was desirable, or anything like that that we might be concerned about. So those things were stemming from the same place. My mother and I were experiencing very similar things, and it was manifesting in very different ways, and it caused us to really butt heads, and really cause just a lot of hurt and a lot of misunderstanding that it took a lot of years to heal from. Okay. And so you can see how, with that understanding now, I have a lot more compassion for my mother, because now I know that she was just feeling the same thing that I was, and it just played out for her in a different way. Okay. So that's what we have going on right now. Okay. And Archangel Michael has been really working with me, very, very intensely for the last week to bring these messages forward to you all. And I've been grateful for that. It has taken, a little bit to unpack all of it and to kind of get my head around it. But it makes a lot of sense. And I know that it's truth. And I know that it's vitally important that we understand these messages. So what I did was I pulled 4 cards to kind of guide the focus of what, where do I need to tune in to receive the messages that are most important for us to hear right now. So the second card that I pulled says the best is yet to be. And the message that the angels brought through is for us to not ever be afraid that one day the shadow will overpower and overtake the light. The shadow requires the light for its very existence. The light does not require the shadow. And these eclipses, and we're having an unusually high number of them this eclipse season, it's like Source's way of sending in backup so that we have more to work with, more to get momentum, and we begin accumulating and attracting more energy like it to itself. And it will, this photonic light that's coming in will attract the light that is innately within every human being. And then those shadow, dense, darker parts, just by the natural way of things, will not be able to come along because the light doesn't require it. And it will fall away. So the angels are encouraging us and saying that we have to trust the process of things. So much so that you stop feeling like that if you don't fight against it, it will swallow us up and win. The light doesn't require it. The quickest way to remove the shadow and the darker aspects, to remove its presence, is to shine more light on it. And to trust that God, source, however spirits, whatever you refer to that energy as. I call it God because that's comfortable for me. But understand when I say that's I don't mean man with a gray beard sitting in heaven. I mean source energy, the great source of all that is. Okay, we have to trust that God knew what He was doing when He set this whole thing into motion the way that He did, and that if we will get into alignment with the fundamentals of how these energies work and how this whole cosmic dance is going along, if we get in the flow of that and see where we need to shift to be a good dance partner, then the sooner we're all enjoying the party instead of tripping all over each other like a bull in a china shop. So the first card that I pulled was the release card. And Archangel Michael has actually a lot to say. This is where the bulk of the message is going to lie, is around this idea of, or this topic of release. So we hear a lot on the spiritual journey that we need to figure out what's no longer serving us so we can release it. And this is particularly true during retrograde season because of the focus that is drawn to these RE words: release, retrograde, review, return. That's what I mean by that. So we hear so much about that, and because spirituality and awakening have all started to become kind of the in thing, and those words, spirituality, awakening, enlightenment, astrology, those have all become kind of like buzzwords. So we have to be very careful of the ego finding a way to sneak in there and causing us to develop what's called a spiritual ego, which I can assure you can wreak more havoc than your average run-of-the-mill ego, because it can cause us to start picking ourselves apart and shaming ourselves in the name of spirituality and in the name of enlightenment, and can be just as dogmatic and detrimental to us and to our true awakening as what our intent was to try to release and transmute in the first place. So it can cause us to easily start to pick ourselves apart in what is really a very self-deprecating way, in an effort to feel like we're doing spiritual right, or that we're being spiritual enough, or that we belong on this spiritual path and in this spiritual group. So what can happen is that we put so much focus on trying to figure out what's no longer serving us, and so much focus on trying to release that what we end up doing is attracting to ourselves more of what we don't want. And we'll start to view everything through a very negative and even suspicious lens. And what Archangel Michael wanted to really help us understand is that we don't manifest and create a new reality by picking apart and scrutinizing all the negative aspects of our life and bringing focus to that. We recreate our reality through the perspective that we choose to have about our reality. And so I told you we would be coming back to this word perspective. So let's get that out of our pockets now, and we're going to work with that for just a little bit. So we have to remember the way that the law of attraction works when we're thinking about this, okay? And we recreate our reality through perspective. But when you change the way that you view something, the lens that you see it through, and you get a different perspective on it, you will change how you feel about it, which changes your beliefs about it. And it changes your relationship to whatever that is. It changes how you experience that. And by doing that, you've changed your reality. Past, present, and future. Okay, so you can see how very powerful it is, the perspective that you have in every now moment. And so we have to remember the way this universe works, whether we like it or not, whether our egos like it or not, is that everything is vibration. Everything is energy. And at our most basic fundamental knowledge of energy, we find that like attracts like. Whatever we give our focus to or pay attention to or give our energy to, we are going to attract more of. And that is really what's happening right now in our country. It really is. And Archangel Michael wanted to come through and just say and remind us that we are so focused on the anger and the outrage that we feel. And we are so focused on the way that we have been triggered. And I think that I was sitting with this, and as Archangel Michael was telling me this, it came through that because our true selves, our true consciousness, and our source selves, because we inherently know that we are all one, we can become very, very triggered at knowing this. We are all one. This is not supposed to be. We are all equal. We are all good. We are all divine. And it can be really easy to focus on that. Really easy to focus on that. What Archangel Michael is challenging us to do is to ask ourselves the question, do I want to be justified and feel righteous and feel good in the moment? Or do I want to see the reality of what that choice does, which is create more of what I don't want? Do I want to see the reality of what that choice does and reframe my perspective about it so that I can have a different response to it? And our feelings that arise, those are our responses to things. So do I want to have a different response to it, create new beliefs about it, and in that way create an entire new reality? He was very clear that the only way that we are going to change this without more and more damage being done, more and more of what we don't want being created, is to make a radical and courageous decision to love and show compassion, even for those that we cannot in our minds bring ourselves to feel like deserve it. Those are the ones that often need the most love and compassion. We have to make a brave and courageous decision to do that and to anchor that in this planet and to not be moved by the things that are happening to the point that it lowers our consciousness and takes us out of that space of unconditional love and compassion. And when we're able to do that and sustain that, and enough of us are doing that, it will attract more of that. And we'll start to see that play out more than what we're seeing now. Okay? And the message that was on the angel card that I pulled, it was the release card, but the little message at the bottom, it said, when you let go and release, when you let go and release your troubles, you will be guided toward peace. And that is just so, so true. So I'm asking you to do that with me. And I know it's not always easy. And I'm asking you to be brave and be courageous and call on Archangel Michael, because he will help you. He's the angel of justice, okay? He is the angel that is often known for working with the police force, okay? He wants to do that. He's there. He's ready. He's willing. He's available. And man, he's big and he's strong and he's powerful. And he will help each and every one of us resolve those feelings that we feel, resolve those injustices, resolve everything that is going on. He's got a whole legion of angels backing him. Okay? And they want peace just as much as we do. And they're here to guide us as to how to bring it about. Okay? So what we have to release is our focus on what we don't want. We have to release the old ideas of how we get what we want. We have to be brave and courageous in how we respond to it. So the next card that came through was the action card. And archangels Michael and Metatron wanted to point out that they did not say reaction card. It is the action card. And the action that they're calling us to take and encouraging us to take is to consciously make a choice that is courageous and radical, like we talked before. And that is to actively and purposefully, and even when it's hard, and even when it's uncomfortable, and even when we're triggered, even when our ego is trying every way it knows to get us to engage in a reactive conversation or situation or expression, to actively choose that we are going to desire a different reality for humanity more than we desire to be right, more than we desire to have a response in the moment. And we back that up with a radical action to choose love for every human being on this planet. Because if we want equality, that means every human being. Even the ones we find it very difficult to see as worthy of our love or deserving of our love and compassion. Even the ones who in their actions commit unspeakable, hate-filled acts. Because that in itself is a measure. That's our indicator of how much our love and compassion is needed. And it is not until we are willing to do that these events will stop. There was a word that kept coming through. This was not a card I pulled. It was a word that kept coming through. And I didn't know why until I looked into it a little further. And it's the word reduction. I kept hearing that over and over. Reduction. And so I looked up the definition of it. I thought, what are the angels trying to tell me with this? So I looked it up. I wanted to know what the actual definition was. And it says to reduce the whole down to its individual parts. And when I read that, then the message poured in. When we segregate ourselves into parts without even meaning to, we think we're being inclusive by it. When we say Black Lives Matter, we're still putting people of color, we're still putting them in a group that says that they're less than by doing that. When the angels brought this through, I was like, wow, oh my gosh, you're right. Oh my gosh. Because you will never find someone holding up a sign that says, a 35-year-old white high tax bracket male that his life matters. You're never gonna find someone protesting for that. And so when we hold these signs up and we start a whole movement around Black Lives Matter, we're still categorizing them as less than, because if we didn't somewhere still feel like they were less than, there would be no reason to draw attention to it. It would just be assumed that they were part of what we believed was worthy of just as much as we think that we're worthy of, or just as much as we think that the majority is worthy of. So the angels are asking us to shift how we're thinking about this, and shift how we say this, because our words are very powerful. If we really want to be inclusive, when we really want equality, then we have to stop being the very ones that are reducing ourselves into different groups. We have to say lives matter. Life matters. Every life matters. The fact that we're alive matters. Every life is an expression of source, embodied in some form, whether it is a human or an animal or a plant or a rock. It is an expression of the divine. And until we truly see every single thing around us as an expression of the divine, we're going to keep reducing ourselves and being less than we could be. So it was a very powerful message that came through. And I hope that will resonate with you in the same powerful way that it did with me, because it just really shifted my perspective. I'll say that. So the next card that came through was the best is yet to be. And what came through from the angels is for us to not ever be worried or afraid that one day the shadow will overpower and take control of or take down or win over the light. The shadow will not ever overtake the light, because the shadow requires the light for its very existence. The light does not require the shadow. And these eclipses are bringing in huge amount of photonic light. We're having an unusually high number of them right now, or this eclipse season. And it's like it's Source's way of sending backup in for us. so that we have more to work with. We can get a momentum and begin accumulating and attracting more energy like it to itself. And it will attract the light that is innately within every human being. And the shadow, those denser, darker parts, just by the natural way of things, will not be able to come along because the light doesn't require them. And it will fall away. So the angels are encouraging us to trust the process of things. Trust the process of things so much so that you don't feel that you stop feeling like that if you don't fight against it, it'll swallow you up and win. Because you have to remember that the light doesn't require it. And that the quickest way to remove the shadow's presence is to shine more light on it. And trust that Source knew what he was doing when he set this whole thing into motion the way that he did. And that if we will get in alignment with the fundamentals of how these energies work and how the laws that govern this universe work, if we will get in alignment with those things, get in the flow of this cosmic dance, and we see where we need to shift, what we need to do or how we need to see things in order to be in the flow and be a good dance partner, the sooner we're all enjoying the party instead of tripping all over each other and knocking everything down in sight and making a big old mess like a bull in a china shop. We have to get into rhythm with this whole, it's like a dance. It's like a cosmic dance. Anybody that knows me knows I love to dance. Love to dance. And dancing is fun. It's fun to be in the rhythm of things. It's fun dancing and getting in that rhythm and in that groove with somebody or with a group of somebodies. And it feels good. It feels good. It gives you life. And it feels good to bring your energy with other energy, and you get in this dance and you're moving together and you create this whole other energy that just takes off and it feels good. And when you're dancing, the quickest way to start stepping all over the feet of your partner or knocking everybody down and falling down, the quickest way to do that is to get real stiff and become rigid and to start trying to exert control and power over an energy that refuses to be controlled instead of just letting it move through you and moving with it, being in the flow of it. It's creation energy. It's powerful. It's powerful. You can't exert control over it. You got to get in the flow of it, and it feels good. Good things happen. Good things manifest when we do that. So the last card that came through is the celebration card. And that just goes right along with what we were just talking about. And the angel said that your spirit needs to play and have fun. We need this creation energy. We need it. It is vital to our existence, both as a human being and as a planet, as a collective. We need to, this eclipse in Cancer is bringing about a focus on the divine feminine qualities. Okay? And those divine feminine creation energies. And so we need to embrace that. We need to dive into that and to tap into those qualities and those attributes that historically, before they were really like adulterated and we got confused about it, and this whole, false feminine presented itself. We need to tap into those original source created, authentic, divine feminine creation energies and qualities. We associate these things with being a mother, what we would consider a good, nurturing, loving mother, but who also is strong and firm and knows when it's time to be loving and nurturing and soft, and when it's time to stand up and be firm and be strong and resilient, and how when we think of like how when a mother says something and she means it, well, that's big. And so we need to put our focus. The angels are asking us to think about all those things that we think, those phrases and those directions that we associate with mothering, right? Where we all play nice together in the sandbox, and we share, and we don't throw fits, and we include everybody, and we go ask them what their name is and invite them to play so that they're not left out. And we make sure that they're included, and we take turns, and we don't hit. And if we can't find anything nice to say, then we don't say anything at all. Okay? That's what the angels are bringing through for us right now. Big, powerful message. Big, powerful message. And what you do with it, how you allow that to hit you, and how you allow yourself to see it and feel it and experience that message and respond to it, it's going to be up to you. I want to leave you with a quote from Albert Einstein. And in 1954, Albert Einstein said, "A human being is a part of the whole called by us universe. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. And this delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. And our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by remembering and widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty." I thought that was a really beautiful and very fitting thing to think about. He said that in 1954, and it couldn't be more true today. Couldn't be more what we needed to hear today. I thank you very, very much. I'm grateful that you've been here with me today to sharing this with me. I'm grateful that you've allowed me to bring these messages through to you. I invite you to go to my website. Now you're going to have to give it a few days because I've been working really hard to put this thing together. I have this will be my second website now. I'm kind of growing up and rebranding and expanding, and God has put big plans and big dreams in my heart that I know are going to be made manifest, and I know it's going to be important, and I know that lives are going to be changed because of it. So I invite you to go to www.christymichelleriggs.com. Just if it's not up when you hear this message, just keep checking, because it's going to be there in just a few days. You can get a variety of healing sessions that we can be done via the internet, since we're all still socially distancing. I can do readings, very personal and detailed readings for you. Or you can just learn more about me and what I do and who I am and what I know I've been called to do and to share with you. And you'll be able to find me on social media as well, and all that's in the description box below. I love each and every one of you. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. And there is light in each and every one of us. Let's not forget that. Thank you for being here. We'll talk again soon.